up, everybody? Welcome to the GameOverGreggy show. I am one of your hosts, Greg Miller, alongside the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well.
How was that ice you were chewing on?
That was really good.
Yeah? Do you ever refill the ice in our house?
I do. All the
Okay.
time.
I'm not. It wasn't me judging. I just rarely use it, so I don't even know.
No. Yeah, I do all the time.
All right, good. Thanks. You're a good bro.
No,
He's an ice guy.
Well, I'm trying to be respectful of everything you guys have. It is someone's house. You do have other people that live here that don't take part in the madness that is our daily lives.
Kind of like when you're like, oh, I used up all the coffee pods, and then I'll text you like, bring a coffee from tomorrow. Not the pods, just a cup of coffee, because I know you're going to Starbucks.
Yeah.
And then you get here without my Starbucks.
Because you text me right after I left. And you know what? Sometimes it's really a pain in the ass to find parking at Starbucks. And I don't value our friendship that much.
Thank you. As long as somebody's admitting what's really happening here.
I bring you Starbucks. Get on with it.
Over here, the pure one, Tim Gettys.
Hello.
No, let Tim host. No.
I fucked up with this whole intro thing. I went to go hit the table. I'm like, that's not yet.
You're rusty.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's a long weekend. Game of Thrones last night.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
A lot of Daredevil. And then, right here, the one and only Lauren Lanning. Creator of Oddworld.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You survived Colin and Greg Live today. Of course, Colin over in Iceland, coming home soon. You survived it and you didn't leave. You ate some Thai food, you hung out, you're ready to talk about whatever we talk about.
I'm here. I'm with you.
You excited?
Thanks for having me.
No, my God, please. Thank you so much
I
for
love
hanging
it.
out
You
with
guys
us.
are great.
I also like your glasses a lot.
Oh,
I
thank you
didn't
very
comment
much.
on Colin and Greg Live. There's a lot of things happening. These are nice glasses.
I found a new place to get my glasses.
Lens Crafters.
It's the car wash on in Berkeley.
Really?
And they now have the glasses that suit me. Yeah.
There you go. That's
You should do a commercial for them.
great. You might be one of the most fascinating people we've ever had in this house. Like sitting there out
That's
there
been
eating
a boring
lunch.
house, huh?
No, man. It's been a,
No, I mean Greg
got
lives
some
with,
stories.
Greg lives
This
with
is-
Colin, so that's a high standard. No, we literally, I mean, for those people that can't watch us have lunch every day, we were talking to you for about an hour, and it just flies by because you have fantastic stories that you're probably not allowed to say on this podcast.
There's a few of them,
Which is okay, but yeah, we were really excited. And it literally was to a point where Kevin kept tapping us on the shoulder, like, "Hey, you guys have to start the podcast now." Because I'm like, I could listen to this guy talk.
And Nick's
for
like, damn it, Kevin, I feed you. I'll tell you when we start the show.
tell you what shirt and underwear to wear combination. I don't know why I said that.
Underoos.
If you didn't know, the Game Over Greggy show is simple. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5 best friends gather on this table, each bringing a random topic of discussion for your amusement. If you like that, you can get everything early over on patreon.com/kindafunny each and every Friday. But if you don't want to give us any money, it's no big deal. You can wait for the next week. Starting that Monday, every topic goes up, topic by topic, day by day on youtube.com/kindafunny until the entire show posts for free on Friday as a video and, of course, a podcast on podcast services around the globe.
yes.
I felt really good about that one. I'd been stumbling because
You're not gonna
I'd
mark
gone
him.
to vacation. I'd come back. Colin's here. He's gone. I don't know what's happening. That one I got all
Colin's
of.
here. He's gone.
That one I just nailed. Like I ripped the skin off the ball.
That was
Sandlot
good.
Style.
That was good.
All right.
Nice.
Lauren,
Yes.
the tradition here is that the guest goes first with their topic. But when we were talking out there, you decided to ape Kenny Char's topic from from the Patreon. Of course, you go to Patreon. You can support us, get your topic read on the show. And Kenny's Char.
Yeah.
That would be good if I had a barbecue restaurant and I was named
Kenny's
Kenny.
Char. That'd be awesome.
Right? That's a good one.
Char.
Kenny,
Let's
there
go
you
to
go.
Kenny's Char. It's like
Yeah.
Carl's Jr. Carl's Jr.
That's not a
Let's just keep saying
Which
it, Nick.
is concerning.
Carl's Jr.
Carl's Jr.
not a ringing endorsement of Kenny's Char. Anyways, Kenny Char, for his Patreon topic, said, what were the best movie sequels ever made? Then he gives this caveat, not including Empire Strikes Back or Godfather Part 2.
You gotta not make it easy on us, because those would be the ones we talk about.
Well,
for the next
obviously,
2
because
hours.
those are the good ones,
Those are
right?
the
So
only
he-
There's some other
Yeah.
good ones, though. Back to the Future 2, Aliens.
Future 2 was
Now,
great.
Aliens,
here's
James
the one.
Cameron.
Is Back to the Future... now, I'm willing to have an adult conversation. I haven't thought this through.
Okay.
Is Back to the Future 2 the better movie?
No.
Here's the thing. As a child, very much so did I think I loved the future I could get behind. The past was boring. Right. But being a grown-up seeing these movies, you're like, well, I think Back to the Future 1 was a bit better. That, you're not
Yeah.
selling Pizza Hut product placement in the next one. You know what I mean? That was like the turnaround point. You know what I say? I think it was all tricks before. I think our kid eyes were
Yeah.
just happy with a flying car and a flying hover.
So it's like Ninja Turtles, where it's like now you look back and like the first one was definitely better, but when you were a kid, the second one was definitely better.
it had
the-
Vanilla Ice.
It did have Vanilla Ice.
Which
It
is
had
all I
the
needed. Yeah,
There you go.
There you go.
Sure.
the
That's-
Bebop and
yeah,
Rocksteady
yeah.
knockoffs.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell their names
Gora
were.
or something.
Reznor.
Reznor.
I don't. Who knows?
So, Nick, do you have anything to say about
I
Back
mean,
to the
I
Future
think
1 versus 2?
Back to the Future 1 is a classic. Back to the Future 2 was great. And I'm with you. When I was a kid, I loved the hoverboard sequence. I was like, I want a hoverboard. This is the better movie.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I mean, no,
It was cooler. It was a cooler
My
movie.
parents' generation was the generation it goes back to, because I was, when that movie was made, I think it was 5 years old. So my parents actually grew up probably during that time period, maybe a little later in that time period, actually.
You've heard the disturbing fact, and now it's already passed, that if they did Back to the Future now in present day or whatever, they'd be going back to like 1985 or whatever. Like that's how
Oh,
old
God,
we are
that
and how
hurts.
old that
That's
movie
pretty
is.
depressing.
Yeah,
I was
right?
like,
It's like, oh my God. Which they should do. They should just
Yeah,
reboot
that
Back
was
to the Future
bad.
and do that.
That'd be hilarious. They go back to 85. They go back to 85 and we're all that'd be actually be a blast. But no, I mean the second movie was good, and it's funny because my wife actually was one of the ones that brought it to my attention. She was like, the first one was better, right? And I'm like, no way. The second one had this and this and this, and Biff was in the future and all this stuff. And then you watch them back to back, and you're like, oh, what?
Yeah,
it actually has a lot more heart. It is the original, similar to how the Fast and Furious, the first Fast and Furious movie, is the better Fast and Furious.
I hate you
because it
so
is
much. No jokes though. Like good sequels, Fast 5, 6, and 7. Like
I mean,
okay, we can't put them in the same league as the other movies we're talking about.
No, but I would say no, but those were good
Sequels.
sequels. They were sequels that were actually better. I would imagine. I will go out there and say they're better than the first. I like the first one. I rank it higher just because I love it. But
Nobody
they're-
likes this tuna fish sandwich. And they fought. That was Fast and
That was
Furious
number 1.
yeah,
Fast
that was
Furious
it.
1.
That's all they did.
Yeah.
Nobody likes this tuna fish sandwich.
The tuna fish. Nobody likes tuna. You remember this scene.
Nobody likes the tuna.
You remember
Was
this.
that when they get in the first time they get in
You
the fight
never even
outside of the
seen
diner?
it. You're,
Yeah,
you're
you've never even seen.
you've never
What if
seen
Nick
it.
had never seen a Fast and Furious movie?
Just number 1.
Like, all
he
this-
just picked up at Tokyo Drift. He's like, yeah.
Hilarious. No, those movies actually are better because they got significantly better because they got more budget and they got more clout, and so they attracted bigger stars. So by the time you get to 5, you got The Rock.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's awesome, and they're crazy good.
Someone just made a graph, like a chart
Insane.
of all the movies of how Fast versus Furious each
saw
one
that.
is. It's genius.
That was the
Is
Vin
it
Diesel
really?
Fast
Yeah,
and
it's
Furious.
like Fast counts as any time they're in a car or in any in a car, plane, or train, or jumping off of one of those things.
Right. Sure.
And Furious is when people are fighting or there's melodrama. And it's
That's great.
What
it's
are we
like a
talking? Is it
breakdown. And
50-50?
as you go, it just gets
more furious.
no, it gets more like evened out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but both are way higher. It's great.
Of course, the one that's most debated is Aliens, because everyone that's a split camp for me. Where like you go back and you watch the original Ridley Scott Alien, and it's a different type of movie for example.
Amazing movie.
It's a horror. You're talking about a horror thriller, sci-fi horror thriller movie
Versus
an action genre movie, which is the second one. Which is why everyone that watches it, similar to Back to the Future, which you watch that and it has all the elements of a movie that you love because it's action. It's got the Colonial Marines, it's got all the cool tech and all the weapons and stuff like that, and it's about teams getting whittled around. Totally different movie though than the first one.
Yeah.
First one is very much about that psychological horror of being trapped in an enclosed environment with this thing that is fucking picking you off one by one, and there's nothing you can do to stop it except for blow up the ship. Like that is the only thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
Which hilariously enough is the only thing they can do in the second one as well, is blow up the entire planet.
Spoilers. Goddamn.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure.
It was on my queue right after Daredevil. Once I get through this Daredevil.
If you've never seen Aliens, we're stopping the
I've
podcast
seen
right
it.
now. and
you
watching
need
it.
to see Aliens.
Um,
And then Aliens 3 was actually Fincher.
yeah.
So what happened? Well, it was his first picture, I guess.
Well, it was his first picture, and now he also he didn't finish it. Apparently, is the story goes.
He got fired.
No, they ran out of budget,
And
they were like, so all the effects, a lot of the effects you see for the Alien are actually unfinished effects. And It's like
Really?
running around. That's what I read something
the guy in the
online
suit, the
about
guy
that.
in the dog suit.
Some BuzzFeed thing.
yeah.
Things you didn't know, like the one article Nick read.
It's no, I mean, I got to be careful quoting stuff like that because sometimes you'll read stuff on boards or someone will tweet something at you. You're like, I don't know. About
You're just
this
taking it
shit,
from
really.
the Alien 3 subreddit, like the post. Fisher didn't finish the film.
No, but that movie was God. That was so devastating when that movie started because they killed off Hicks, and you're like, why? Why wouldn't you just? It's Hicks. You wanted to see more Ripley and Hicks, like, and Newt for all intents and purposes, because eventually she was going to grow up and stop saying stupid shit. But yeah, that was just a weird direction to go. Did you see the tests they had? Neil Blomkamp did with Michael Biehn.
No.
So I don't know why he did it. I think it's for the new Alien that he's working on.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's an alternate timeline thing or not. I have to read up on it a little bit. But they have makeup tests of him now with the burn face.
Well, remember
nice.
they're blinking
Nice.
out 3.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is.
It picks up from Aliens.
Yeah,
And then
so-
there's like none of that other shit happened.
So they're
Oh,
basically,
wow.
Yeah, which I love. What a
Yeah,
great
yeah,
idea.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
to retcon it. Who cares? Fuck it.
which is actually pretty fascinating if you think about it, because technically speaking, they could have been floating in space for that long, and they would have aged. You know what I mean?
Unless they were in
Like-
cryogenic sleep.
Well, they would have. Your body would still age, right? In cryogenics, like you would still.
Well, because they were in sleep chambers, right? Like they were when in Alien.
No,
Right?
you're frozen.
Kevin?
You're frozen in
floating
time.
in space for like 4.
Oh, right, and she was
Yeah,
still
yeah.
30. That's right. So I
Well,
take
it took
that back.
them
You're
that
right.
many years to get there.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was cool to see Hicks, to see Michael Biehn, like, half his face melted off. It's still in the pads, like the badass, like Colonial Marine. Because, dude, when I was a kid, I would get. I tell this story all the time, but I'll tell it again because I love it. My dad used to get pissed at me because I would take all of his PVC pipe and cut it up with all of his duct tape, all this expensive duct tape and like electrical tape that he'd gone and bought in Home Depot and everything. My brother and I would saw it all up, and we'd make the pulse rifle, and then we'd also make the smart gun.
Yeah.
And the smart gun was, you're talking a shitload of fucking lights. Like, it's enough to, like, do an entire backyard with sprinkler systems. And my dad was like, who the fuck keeps using... Oh, my dad is
Was it really that hard for him to figure out?
No, because we'd be running around,
kids
like...
running around playing Alien.
running around with duct tape on our shoulders, duct tapes on our head, and shit
Yeah.
like that. It was, that was fun. I mean, that was one of those movies where I don't think I appreciated Alien until... later in life.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is fucking slow. There's no cool guns and stuff.
That's
And
how I
you go
feel about
and
Back to the
watch it.
Future. It was the same way.
Yeah.
Of like the original Back to the Future, I remember watching. As a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, you can't connect with like what's happening in the 50s.
Well, one of the things that's amazing. One of the things
Yeah,
that's
that
amazing
might work.
about the Back to the Future, if I'm not mistaken, it was the first time they shot 2 movies together. They shot Back to the Future 2 and 3 together,
Right.
and so they were shooting on the same sets at the same time. Which was so they're already planning on the success of 2 to shoot 3, right? And I think that was the first time they did that.
They were I think if I remember correctly, or if I'm right about this, they were originally 3 was supposed to be part of 2. It was supposed to be the middle act of 2. They were supposed to accidentally go
Really?
back to the West. Yeah. And what I think somewhere along the line they were like, there's actually enough material here to make a 3rd movie. And so it got
Make
greenlit.
the definitive Back to the Future movie.
Which, I mean, talk about being able to relate to a time period.
Yeah.
The Wild West, I'll tell you right now. I fucking wish I lived there. I
Oh
love
my God.
dysentery.
Run for fun. That's a deep cut from Back to the Future 3, everybody.
But yeah, that was one of those things. I mean, they did a lot of cool stuff. You're talking. That's what the 80s were so cool about, man. Like, you don't have CG back then. They had to do. They tell
Practical.
Zemeckis tells the story of when they were doing 2 about how they had the dinner set, right? And so you'd have to make sure you had a motion controlled camera that would shoot you here, then you here, then you here, and everything had to be like glued down. Because if someone screwed it up, all of a sudden in the split cut, it would be like off, like half cut and stuff. Because it was just rotoed out. You're talking about like, and people having to cross over was that. I mean, that's like a team of people that have to work. I just screwed it up for them.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, now
Slowly
we're
back out of the frame.
Yeah. So that was all really cool stuff and cutting
Yeah.
edge at the time. You go back and look at it now, it's whatever. But let me ask you this question.
Sure, lay it
What
on
was
me.
the coolest piece of tech that you can remember from Back to the Future 2?
Hoverboard.
Not the hoverboard.
No, it's the garbage disposal engine.
That was pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, Mr. Fusion.
The thing that pops out
That's
to
right,
me.
Can I say mine, or you want to answer your own question?
I thought you already said it.
And then you said not
hoverboard.
hoverboard.
What
No,
is it?
no, the pizza.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nobody hydrates a pizza like you, Grandma. Like, yeah. You can imagine how great that would be.
Yeah.
To have pizza like delivery, but at home in a second. Where is that technology? I want pizza that's not delivery, but tastes and looks like it.
Well, they're delivering by drone
DiGiorno.
now in the Ukraine. Drones are delivering pizza in the Ukraine now.
Drones are
seen
going to be
that?
everywhere soon.
Yeah. We'll fly it in because
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't be driving.
Yeah.
I think flying it in, we're safer from the shelling.
We'll be safer if we bring it in that way.
Yeah.
So,
But why are sequels sucky?
You can up it a little bit.
because you're
It
always
look like
chasing
we're
the ghost,
hitting
right, of the original thing.
Red.
Yeah, and they're uninspired. So what they have is they have a brand that they need to make money on, and they have we need next Christmas or next summer we're gonna need another big one in 2 summers, and we don't have that, but we know Transformers, a property that keeps on going. So write a script and let's have that movie done by summer.
Right.
Now you have totally uninspired, driven by the need to have a movie rather than the need for a creator to make a movie,
Right.
which is an entirely different passion.
Well, this is
driving
like what
it.
you're talking about with Colin Moriarty Live today, right? Where it's like once you get this board of directors above you, they're the ones dictating what's happening, right? You're no longer just creating for yourself.
Absolutely.
Is that why you don't really make sequels? You exist in this odd world where you keep
Where it's
doing
all kind of
different
sequels,
things
yeah.
with it. Yeah.
Well, that was the idea.
Yeah.
I was actually I realized in games that so I had come from Hollywood. We had come from filmmaking. I was at Rhythm and Hughes. I was doing CG. We were, working on movies, and I'm trying to figure out where to tell stories and where to own stories. And I learned that the game industry didn't believe in sequels. Now, if you go back to the early 90s and you go, no, if you talk to a publisher and you say, I want to build this thing and it'll have sequels, it's a property, they'd be like, Yeah, maybe Miyamoto can get away with that
Yeah,
occasionally, but really, sequels only sell 50% of the original, so we don't back it. And you were like, "Oh my God!" To me, that was like Lucas's 1976 moment with Fox, where they go, "We just don't value licensing."
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like Tony Montana, this town's just waiting to get, and and so that's how we started off with it's all about the IP, because we were like, well, no kidding, it's not really about the IP in games yet, because you're not investing in emotionally compelling characters, right?
Right.
You just got characters that are the reason for canceling other characters.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand sequels. So in gaming, I was like, wow, how do we create, a property like Star Wars-ish, where you know the brand as soon as you see it.
Sure.
Hanna-Barbera, Looney Tunes, whatever it may be. The Muppets was a big inspiration, and then be able to create new content that's not necessarily a sequel, but at least has the brand familiarity.
Right.
And so that's what we were trying to do. And in the course of it, you could say it was sequels or not sequels. The truth is, Abe's Exodus was a sequel, because I wasn't planning on doing it. We did so good with Abe's Odyssey that they said next 9 months we need another one, right? And that's your sequel. And we're like, I don't want to do it on that engine. They're like, do it. And you have a partner, and you got to be a good partner.
Yeah.
And but yeah, the industry did. I mean, that's amazing, right? You go back 20 years, and the industry didn't believe in sequels. Now, what is it? It's a completely sequel-driven industry.
All sequels.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of a IP, and let's just milk that damn thing until it's dead, and then let's place it in China, because they're the ones that are paying for it and don't speak badly about the Chinese ever. No, I mean that's what's crazy. You follow like what they just did with Transformers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I mean that is Transformers is a movie franchise that's made to be like multiple films. Like you have that, you're like, okay, we're gonna make 40 of these. Just greenlit 20 of them. Let's go. But now they go, they got into hot water with the Chinese, because they were the ones that funded most of it, and they didn't show the hotel they were supposed to show. They didn't show the building they were supposed to show. Like they fucked up, so they had to make goods, go back, reshoot stuff, make sure like the CG was different, things like that. So I mean, it's a crazy world that we live out there. But that's kind of always the way it's been. I mean, I can't blame people. If we had a successful product, I would want to keep making that, because it's easier to iterate than it is to create. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. Iterate than innovate.
Yeah, innovate. That's what thank you. That's the turn of phrase I was looking for.
Let me just correct you.
Thank you.
You're innovating on his original
You are the intellect. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that I like where we're at now, where sequels aren't necessarily just shitty ripoffs of the movie that came before it. Now what we're seeing is sort of sagas, where we're seeing like, especially with Marvel, where it's all building. They're all sequels, yes, and we're getting still Captain America 2, which are like, do we really need that? But it's building toward a bigger story that they're trying to tell, and I can appreciate that, because this hasn't been done before.
Well, that was brilliant.
Yeah, well, now it's done everywhere. Like you can't just do one sequel. It needs to be this universe.
You have your own universe.
Like great Ghostbusters universe, great Spider-Man universe, great X-Men. Like there's just so many universes.
Well,
Universi.
But then you have, when they do a standalone story, that it builds into the universe, but it doesn't necessarily it doesn't need to build into a main story thread like the Wolverine. You have a little more freedom. Then you can tell that side story, because we know all these characters, right? You don't feel the need, like the part of the problem with the original IP is you have to kind of tell the backstory every time you do anything, right? You have to get those audience members invested in that character. And the best way to do that is, let's tell people some shit about this guy. Why is he flawed? What's his journey? What's he trying to accomplish? Or what are you trying to accomplish through him, right? He's the vehicle for that. He or she is the vehicle for that. That'd be cool.
I got you. I hear you.
That's right.
But yeah, that's what's fun now, is like, I was telling Greg about Daredevil. We watched that, and I was like, I don't need a Daredevil origin story, dude. I get it. He's got.
But you're getting it. You know what I mean? Like,
but we're getting it in sort of a way
cool way, a different way.
It's a different way. It's a cool way. It's also a way that kind of builds into a bigger universe, where he is a byproduct of what happened in Avengers. Because the city was destroyed, it left it sort of like, there are these bigger crime syndicates that could just kind of have free reign, and he doesn't think that's okay. So he's going to come in and do something about it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I forgot how Spider-Man got his powers, so I hope that they let go of that again when he comes to the Avengers.
They already said they're
Spider-Man?
not going to.
All right, good.
So don't worry.
He's
about
the one
it.
that got.
I'm not worried. I'm concerned.
He's the one from Krypton, or Spider-Tron. What was
Spider-Tron?
Spider-Tron.
Spider-Tron. Yeah.
Spider-Tron?
Yeah.
That's the name of the planet he's from?
A good movie, a good sequel to Kenny Sharp's Real Question. Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2
2
was better than the original Spider-Man. Sam Raimi.
Yes.
Which one was the one? And I hear that a
That's the
hero
original. Will save us. I'm not gonna stand here and wait.
Every
Damn.
podcast, I don't know if you noticed that I do that.
I'm watching.
I try to get. I have this little game I play in my brain of how quickly can I get Greg to sing a song with me.
Oh, it's
and it happens
yeah.
instantaneously every single time.
I got the musical urge. There's nothing.
You do have
I
the
can't
urge.
stop. Can't be
and
stopped.
splurge.
Dark Knight's an easy answer too.
Oh, that's a really good answer.
Dark Knight.
Yeah. That is not even a sequel. That's
Yeah,
just
it
like
is.
But it is.
I mean, it is, but it's like, dude, come correct.
I feel like
Yeah,
He
come
just
come fix this train wreck for us
He-
that we've
he-
like ran into the ground with that. What was that last one?
Dark Knight Rises.
No, the
Oh,
one
he's talking
before
about the
Dark
Joel
Knight.
Schumacher.
you're talking
Yeah, the
about
Joel
Batman and Robin.
Schumacher.
Batman and
Like,
Robin, yeah.
what was that? That was like
Yeah.
the art direction was almost as bad as Speed Racer, which is
What? I love
untoppable.
Speed Racer.
Right. So the art direction. So it's probably
The
maybe-
movie?
Yeah.
One?
Yeah.
I love that shit.
You're a child.
Yeah.
You were a
Dude,
child.
it was fucking No,
Yeah.
I wasn't a child. It was
So
awesome.
obviously you're not the art director.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, that's
Wait,
okay.
what?
That's
Hold
okay.
on.
You can enjoy the movie, but it had the worst art direction on the planet in the history of film, actually.
No way. I thought it was cool.
In the history
I thought it
of
was
film.
really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like
No,
that.
I mean, if you tried to art direct something worse, you couldn't. You can't.
I don't
succeed.
know, man.
It's
I'm
fine.
pretty sure I
you have to-
could.
It's
so
amazing.
I agree with you, but I want to hear why that is the case from your brain, from a person who has made that his career.
Well, I mean, just the idea of like Burning Man color scheme for general fashion and outlook, like actually works at Burning Man, but not in a futuristic setting.
Right.
So every color palette possible is thrown at every scene. It's so gaudy, right? It's like looking at, there are cool looking lowriders, and then there are tasteless looking lowriders in paint jobs, right? It's like in the tasteless class.
Yeah.
So every scene, if you go back and you look at it, the depth, the atmosphere, the color schemes, the believability of the green screen, the compositing, all these things, they're just not there. We were watching it like, how could these guys ever have been involved with Matrix?
Yeah.
How could that have happened? And then they release that clusterfuck of color and light up there, right? Which is just
I like that
absolutely
though. It
terrifying.
felt different. Like it felt like that.
Well,
it was
yeah.
such a unique experience. It literally was like an explosion of colors. It felt like a cartoon, but with real people. More so than a lot of the other, like when they try to do that.
It just wasn't how I received it.
Okay.
It was an explosion of colors.
Yeah, it definitely was.
I mean, and everything's relative, right? I mean,
Yeah.
his experience is going to be different because you're at
Yeah.
different places in your life with different experiences coming into it. Tim, I think, does. I could see why you would like that movie because that was the choice. It was a choice to make something that was so over the top, like basically like a visual.
It was a
LSD
YouTube
trip,
thumbnail of the
right?
movie.
Like that was the whole point. Of it.
But those are good.
Fair enough.
Like I mean, that was like, what was it? What was the movie in the afterlife where
Oh, and Beetlejuice?
no Williams.
Oh,
The
Robin
Beautiful-
Williams.
What Dreams May Come, I think
Yep.
it was what it's
No,
called.
it wasn't that because was it what Dreams May
Dreams
Come?
May Come,
Okay,
yeah.
like that was like an acid trip, right? Everything's
Yeah,
actually moving. I mean,
yeah.
not that I would ever know, but I've heard.
No, yeah,
and it
you
looked
would
just
know.
like
Sure,
it,
sure,
you know.
sure.
But it looked just like it. whereas like Speed Racer was like a bad meth trip or something. You know?
I mean, that was my issue a lot with Transformers too. Was like I had a designer put it in context for me. I was like, what don't I couldn't pinpoint why I didn't like the design of the actual Transformers.
Yeah.
Because in the old school, you remember the old school Transformers were just boxes basically because they had to be because they had to animate them in such a way that was quick.
Because
that was
the toys,
efficient.
really.
And yeah, well, everything was economical about it.
Yeah.
It was a very economical workflow and a very economical way to make toys. So you get to these new Transformers, and I was like, what is it that I'm having a problem with? And one of my designers at IGN
Oh,
was
they're
like,
racist.
no, they're not racist, Greg.
Oh,
No,
there's
not,
robot heaven.
Not everything is racist, and maybe robots do have a heaven. They were sentient life forms. No, he said there's no place for your eye to rest, and he's like, in design,
That's right.
you have to design things so that there's a place for your eye to sort of that draws your eye that we can rest on, and that way you're not constantly trying to find. Like your brain's not trying to unscramble what this massive shit is in front of you.
Which is kind of like his directing in general.
Brad's 100% like that. Although I won't speak badly of the man himself because I'm terrified of him.
Of
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
he's great. He hears stories about that guy. You're like,
Yeah.
I never want to work with him. But
No.
Put
It's funny
him
because
on
I was
stage
talking.
a bunch in front of people, and he'll walk away.
oh, that poor guy.
I was out at Singapore at FZD, the Feng Zhu School of Design. He designed some of the Transformers for Michael Bay in the first movie or two. And he goes, yeah, it was really cool. Michael Bay's calling me on Sunday to work on the shit. And he goes, it's not so cool the fourth time he's calling on fucking Sunday. Feng, who's a great designer, But anyway, yeah, that's totally right on. Where do you look? And it's similar with the pacing. Like
Yeah.
if you saw the Legos movie, right? The kids love it. but there's zero pacing. It starts off at 6,000 RPMs and it ends at about 7,000 RPMs, and it never slows down.
That was,
it's just right. There's no pace, so it's totally a Ritalin generation focus.
I watched that film after everyone that I know saw it, said it was fantastic. I would love it, and you just pinpointed why I didn't like it, and I couldn't put it into words until I couldn't put it better myself. Tim and I argued about it. I didn't argue. We had a discussion of why you liked it versus why I didn't like it, and I think that was it. It was tailored toward people that don't necessarily have my older attention span.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to insult you, Tim.
Oh no, I mean the movie has issues, and like pacing is one of the issues.
Yeah.
And also like a lot of it is just here's references to things you like.
Yeah.
Here's more references, but it's like I like references.
And the song was awesome. Everything is awesome. That was just like everyone was singing.
Thank God. I love when songs get really popular because I like hearing them over and over and over and over again on everything. I especially liked when they did it like in the Academy Awards and you're like, what is this head trip dance number they're doing to this song right now? Which was freaky deaky. Yeah, it's interesting to watch you bring up the Wachowski siblings. It's interesting to watch their career.
Yeah.
Because they did The Matrix, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
And really nothing. Well, Bound was good too. I don't know if you ever
Bound
saw
was
that.
good. Well, that came before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But after the Matrix, everybody was like, "This is it. Let's see what they do next."
And then what was the other one?
They just made Jupiter Ascending, which was the movie that just came and went.
So I expect that to go nowhere. But what was the other one they made after
Speed Racer?
Speed Racer was
Kev, look it up.
It's a Ayn Rand name, isn't it?
Atlas Shrugged.
Not Atlas Shrugged.
Cloud Atlas?
Cloud Atlas.
Was it Cloud Atlas?
Cloud Atlas. I'm confusing the Ayn Rand. Sorry, but that was incomprehensible as well.
I think that was largely a retelling of the book too. But
it's like okay, but it's not a book; it's a fucking movie. You know,
true.
let's make it comprehensible in a 2-hour movie, and it was like so all over the place.
Oh man, do you remember? Were you a fan of The Matrix when it came out?
Absolutely, still one of the greatest movies made, I think.
And
personally,
then, do you remember seeing the second one? That was one of those times on par with the new Star Wars trilogy that came out, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. What happened?
Oh no!
Why didn't they give it to the original creators? No!
Oh, they did. Shit, they did. That was one of those. I mean, as a kid, like, I guess maybe I was just sheltered, or I just had blinders on. Like, I just chose the movies that I liked, and everything else was like, whatever. I don't think about it again. But then when they got to The Matrix 2, and Star Wars, and you're like, oh, these are bulletproof. They're never gonna screw these up. And the second one, you're like,
they screwed it up.
Wow, this was just not even good. It was bad. It just wasn't like. Dude, it just wasn't. You know what I mean?
The guys with the dreadlocks, though.
So if you look at like how those films were made, right? And the Matrix 1 was, I heard Terry Semel say in a meeting once, and he used to run Warner for 20 years, CEO at Warner, and he's the one who apparently greenlit the picture. But in his mind, he said, we never greenlit the picture because I never really understood it. We just kept on giving it more money until it was kind of done. Mm-hmm. Now, people will argue and say that wasn't the case, but at least that's what he said about it back when. And the thing was that they were passing around that script, and they said, first of all, we want Hollywood to understand when they were going to studios, no one under 30 is going to understand this script. But it's totally going to resonate with the under 30 audience. So that was what they were saying, right? And Terry Semel was like, yeah, I didn't get it. Like, it didn't make any sense to me, but these guys were really passionate about it. So you have this thing where you've got these guys that are like, we need to tell this philosophical story about the fucking world we're living in and about how we engage it and how what the youth today is realizing that we live in a matrix, right? We're going to tell this, and we're going to layer it with all this existential philosophy and spiritualism and all these things, and we're going to bring you a new type of Star Wars experience. That's my summary of a soundbite, right? Yeah. And then Matrix 2 is, okay, guys, that film was such a hit. You got 4 times the amount of money, and half the time, go get us another one, right? So now you got shit. How do we build on? It's not entering with the same passion, the same need to tell a story. They say that it never would have been that if you talk to John Gata and those guys that were over on the island on Alameda doing the effects, and they'll talk about how because it was small budget, because it was off the radar, and it wasn't being done in Hollywood, and typically shot in the same old lots with the same old politics, same old bureaucracies. They were able to sort of do it in a vacuum and just go for it like it was a student picture, it was a student film. They were able to go for it in an indie-like way. And after that, boom, now you've got $120, $140 million budget. Give us number 2, give us number 3. And those they started shooting at the same time together too, right?
Yeah,
2
those
ended with the trailer to 3, right?
Just like Back to the Future 2.
Did it?
And 3.
I think that's actually true.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
With the train?
I remember when I first saw the Back to the Future for the first time. I was at Kevin's house, and when it ended and it said to be continued, and the motherfucker flies off. Holy shit!
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing in the world. A movie said to be continued.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I always loved that. They used to do that with the old Bond films. If you watch to the end, it's Bond will return in On Her Majesty's Secret Service or whatever the next movie, because they knew they were going to make one afterward. Which I was like, obviously watching them, I'm like, well, I know because I've seen all of them. I have the box set VHS, but can you imagine at the time you're in theaters and you're like, that was a really cool movie, and then Bond will return, 007 will return in Her Majesty's Secret Service, like, dope. Can't wait for that one.
Yeah.
See that in 2 years. That's dope.
I think part of the reason sequels don't pan out, and it's what we're talking about with like Lego Movie in particular, and the fact that like it's expectation, right? Like I didn't get around to seeing Lego Movie till after everybody had seen it and said it was the best thing in the world, and then I went and saw it, and I was like, oh, it was fine, it was good. I don't think it didn't catch me off guard.
I couldn't get to
Yeah,
the end.
once it gets when something catches you off guard, that's good. I feel like there's like holy shit, like Matrix. I remember when they brought Matrix to me, the original. I just bought a PS2. My friend's like, you need to understand what DVD's all about, and gave me that, and we watched it on my tube TV with speakers. Like, oh my god, you can hear the shell casings hit the ground. Yeah.
It was still NTSC.
Yeah, exactly. It's like from then on, right? My expectations for the second Matrix are so it's the opposite of what we're talking about with Batman v Superman, right? Like Man of Steel, I had such high expectations and it totally fell flat, and I'm like, all right, now I get what the universe is. So Batman and Superman, with that expectation level, I'm excited, and hopefully they'll hop over it and be amazing. That's the problem with sequels.
Yeah. We've gone long on this topic. I could talk about this for the next hour and a half.
All right, fine, then we'll stop.